Well, today, I guess our talk is going to follow the same flow. When we look out at the world and see what's going on, our hearts are affected by it, and our soul. And it's very difficult. Some of us have sat in tears, and that's our human side. We cannot help that. But what's so important is that we hold on to our spiritual core. We are light bearers. That's what we are. We are here to be the light in this world. You wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be on a spiritual journey if you weren't a light-seeking light bearer. It's important for us to acknowledge that, because that is what is needed right now. Like Marianne said, where there is darkness, we need light. You know, my lesson in the course the other day, what the great master asked of us in the course was to be able to see the Christ, to close our eyes and meditate and see the Christ. And what was so interesting, that when I did that, what came to me was Saint Germain in the Violet Flame. And I realized, yes, I'm seeing the Christ. And I had my incredible moments with him. And next came Master Kuthumi. And I had my time with him. And then Master El Moria. And then one of my guides, and I don't want to cry right now because he was with me for so very long. And I call it the changing of the guards. I felt the emotion. This was years ago when he was leaving and someone else was coming on. And here he showed up in these gorgeous red and gold robes. And again, I was looking at the Christ. He was like a father to me. And he took me into his arms and held me. And then next, I did see Jesus. And I realized that I can't just see the Christ in them. I have to see the Christ in everyone. And it's interesting because before Elijah left, he turned me around to look into a mirror. And you know what that meant? I had to see the Christ in me. And of course, that's the more difficult one to do. And then I looked out and I wanted to see the Christ in Putin. But what I could see was a body, but no head. Just this circle of nothing. And I thought, okay, if that's what it is right now, that's what I'm capable of. And I'm going to accept that. So then I went on with my day. And as I went on with my day, I would try to see the Christ in Stan, and I would vision the Christ in people that maybe there's been some disharmony between us. And I continued to practice that throughout the day. Now, the miracle was that not too long after that, I looked out at Putin and all I could see was the light. I saw no body. I saw no head. I only saw light. And I realized that as light bearers, that is what we're here to do. We're here to see light where everyone is seeing darkness. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're going to plant one of your favorite flowers in a pot. Now I want you to imagine that you're going to plant some weed in the yard last summer that was annoying you. And you're going to plant that in a pot. Now you're going to fertilize both those pots, and you're going to water them as often as they need it. You see it grow. You see it becoming, your plant becoming more beautiful, flower or plant. And you see the weed growing just as well. But because you're giving it the same attention, that weed almost begins to have these little flowers, little gold flowers on it. And a miracle takes place. You're able to see the beauty in the weed as you see the beauty in your plant or flower. You see, what we focus on with intent is what we get. You can feed both them. But if you fed that weed, if you feel with your thoughts that weed is something other than loving, you know, out in this world, it's you know, you don't want weeds in your garden. You don't want that growing. But yet your attention to it, your intention of constant focus on those weeds, what do you get? More weeds. So we have a choice here right now. We can feed both with love and care and watch them both grow and become more. And even the weed become beautiful. Or we can have our negative thoughts, our fears, our, well, even hatred. We don't like that word, but my God, we feel it towards people who are suppressing others, who are cruel, who are able to take lives without thought or mercy. But if we feed the darkness, we get more darkness. It is up to us. Which do we want? We are powerful. We are not powerless. Now, we may not see the change in the world the way we want to. We may not see this thing that's about in the world right now that appears to be so evil. We might not see it change quickly. We might even experience a World War III. But you know, during World War II, do you know what light bearers did? Millions of them came together and did the great invocation. And they truly believed that that's what ended World War II. Bringing the light to the darkness. So no matter what happens, we're not powerless. It may take time in its workings. You know, we don't know what the great plan is. We don't know what the great universal plan is. But just because we don't know what it is, or we don't understand it, doesn't mean we're powerless in the face of it. Our power lies within our ability to stay focused on our true reality. And that is that we are the light and love of the Creator. We were created in the image and likeness of the Creator. You know, in Luke 23:34, it says, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." We have made many mistakes ourselves. And more importantly than asking someone else for forgiveness, we need to forgive ourselves for what we knew not at the time. And right now, Putin is filled with hatred, filled with darkness. Our anger, our sadness, our hatred, our whatever, resentment, whatever we're feeling that tightens up inside of us is feeding him. Do you realize that darkness relies on that? This is so important for us to understand. Darkness relies on our fear because it grows. All that anger, hatred, whatever we're feeling is coming from fear. Sadness, we can have sadness because we have compassion, but we can have compassion without fear. But if there is fear, we are feeding the darkness. That's how it remains. That's how it becomes stronger and grows. Do we want him to take over the world? Absolutely not. We are not powerless. We're going to feed that darkness with our positive energy, with our positive thoughts, that the light will overcome. I don't care how long it takes. We must believe in it. We must hold on to it. It doesn't matter whether it's Putin or whether it's a bad relationship or a job you feel like you're stuck in and you hate it. It doesn't matter what it is. Do not feed it with negativity. Jesus in the Course in Miracles tells us that everything, every decision, every thought is choosing between love and fear. Love supports the light, and fear feeds the darkness. It feeds the darkness. Trust me, there is some darkness in us. We would be walking on water if there wasn't. And we want to purge that. We don't want Putin in our minds. We don't want to give him space in our consciousness to grow. Does that make sense to you guys? We don't want to give him space in our minds. We don't want him growing there. What we want growing is our love, is the light. And Marianne's meditation was perfect today. That's where we need to take our love and light. We need to take it to the darkness so that eventually we can shine it away. You know, there has been tragedy after tragedy after tragedy upon this planet. It is a school of hard knocks. But the power lies in our forgiveness. The power lies in our being able to see the Christ within one another. The power lies within being able to see the light everywhere, in spite of the darkness. You know, whatever we give power to becomes our attention. So where do we want our attention? You know, I love my grandkids. I love my family. I love my husband. Do I want them to be safe in this world? Absolutely. Every one of us do. We have our family. We have our friends that we love. We adore them. We want them safe. Can we make that happen? Do we have that control? No, we do not. But the power we do have is to hold everything in the light and not to go into fear. You know, I watch my relationship like with my granddaughter when she's fearful. If I join her in that fearfulness, what happens? We're both pulled down into it. That's where our energy is. But when she's fearful and I am sending her the light and I am holding that light within myself and within her, before I know it, she steps out of her fear and she starts thinking about things, how she can think about it differently, how she can look at it differently. And amazingly, she's 18 years old. She comes back to me and says, Grandma, and she changes her whole mind about something. And I'm blown away. 18 years old. She's way ahead of me where I was when I was 18 years old. Do you know that that is the pearl? That we're giving to others what we didn't have at that time? That's the pearl. I know, Marianne, that you give to your grandchildren more than what was ever given to you. Am I not correct? Okay. Yeah. Do you see what the love and the light is doing? It first affects the people closest to us. And the more powerful we get in our belief and our confidence within us and the light within us, the further we can extend that out to affect further out from us, even across the world to Ukraine and Russia. We are not powerless. We are powerful. When we come together, we're extending that light and love to one another. It doesn't stop there. We leave service and we extend it continuously. But where we think we're limited is we think that it's only that far. It's not that far. We are limitless. We are powerful. We can send it across the world. We can send it out into the galaxies. But it takes our intent, it takes our focus, and it takes our willingness to understand that we may not walk on, there's a lake outside my home. I may not be able to walk out there on water or on that ice because I'm afraid about out there on the ice. And I work on that fear all the time. And in my mind, I walk across that ice. I haven't done it physically yet, but I do it in my mind, and that's where it begins. Our power begins right here in our mind. That's the power we have in our minds. And when we join our minds, because we are supporting one another, believing in one another, believing in the power of the light within each other, my God, we have no idea the miracles that can take place. No idea what miracles can take place. So first, it's interesting because, and I'm not expecting anybody else to be able to do this, because each of us are moving on our path perfectly. The timing is perfect. So we don't compare ourselves to one another. But the miracle for me is that I don't have to forgive Putin because I see nothing but light. But the first step really is being able to forgive that the world is different than the way we want it. To forgive that the world is differently than what we want it. Where the great masters that have walked this planet have said, don't fight. We have to approach it with peace. Peace is light. When we look at, my mind has just gone blank. I love him. Luther King. He was a master. He taught nonviolence. Why did he teach nonviolence? Because he knows violence feeds violence and it perpetuates it. He knew that. So he was teaching his people nonviolence. Gandhi taught nonviolence. It may have been a long, cruel suffering for those involved, but the light did win. Gandhi did win. Martin Luther King made a huge change in this world. It took time. It's still taking time. His work is still being done. We cannot give up. We are not limitless. We're not powerless. We must understand how powerful we are if we keep our focus on that light. And do not let the darkness take our soul from us. Don't allow it. It wants our soul. It wants the fear. It feeds on it. Don't give it power. Because nothing in this world has any power over you. Nothing in this world has any power over me unless I let it. I want you to stand strong within your spiritual core. I don't want you to give in to that. Darkness, I don't care where it is. If it's on the other side of the world, or if it's in the office, or if it's even somewhere in your own family. Do not give in to it. What you do is you water it with love. You feed it with love. So eventually it starts to grow differently, whether we see it in this lifetime or in lifetimes to come. Don't forget how powerful you are and how powerful we are together. I'm going to leave you all with that, with love and light, because I love you dearly. Thank you. Amen.